everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of NXT Talk, the podcast where we talk about all things NXT. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and this week I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour! How's everyone doing out there? Hope we're all staying safe. If you're an American listener, Godspeed. Let's not get too political here immediately off the bat, especially. But, the world is just ready for some professional wrestling right now.
That's right. We need some entertainment. We don't get that on Mondays. We don't get that on Fridays. So we have to rely on Wednesdays with not one, but two half-decent shows.
Half decent. I would say both qualified as half decent.
So, they put in a good effort, but, not the strongest effort.
Workman-like performances from both shows. I did like AEW slightly better, but they're in a different position than NXT. NXT just had their big show, and this is the reset. AEW is building towards their big show, so it was going to be ramped up a little more.
Exactly, and that's that's acceptable. We accept it. That's all good. We're gonna talk a little more about the AEW Dynamite show. We're gonna give kind of our quick thoughts on this Saturday's pay-per-view, but before all that. I kind of want to thank everyone for listening last week and kind of set the stage for this week as we kind of talk about all things NXT. So we are going to be introducing some segments here and there. If they work, we'll continue. If the feedback is good, we'll continue. If we don't think they work and or feedback is bad, we'll yank them. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be trying new things, and hopefully it all works out for you. So this week, we're going to introduce a little later on a new segment. What made you pop? What made you rant? We're going to have a quick discussion about that. We're also going to discuss, like I mentioned, AEW Full Gear this Saturday. But
maybe bust out a little pick contest.
Yep.
Perhaps track the standings. We'll see how long that goes. But we're here for a good time and a long time.
Exactly. That's exactly it. We're here for a good time. So, but before all that, we're here to talk about NXT primarily on the USA Network from the WWE Capitol Wrestling Center in Orlando, Florida. All right. So the show just had a hard open. We head to the Capitol Wrestling Center where we see Ember Moon at the top of the stage to kick things off. But first, we get a video package highlighting the events from Halloween Havoc. Plain and simple. See the video package. Cool. We see Ember Moon again. Dakota Kai's already in the ring, or Dakota Kai's being introduced. One thing I got to point out about Ember Moon is I love the new look. New entrance, really cool. Again, new theme, the whole CFO thing. But there's one thing about Ember Moon's new getup that I cannot stand.
Oh, what's that? That's interesting because I really like the presentation.
She looks like a furry with that fucking tail.
Oh, you know what? That's something I hadn't considered. I'd have to go back and investigate. But I could maybe see it. Fur is definitely prominent in her costume.
I can live with the mask. I can live with the vest. I can live with everything. It's the tail where I lose it. I just can't take her serious anymore.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the tail, I literally did not notice the tail, but I probably have a similar reaction had I noticed the tail. That's really funny.
Yep. All right. And before we jump into this, I apologize because we will give our match ratings. And this week, we will give Cameron Grimes jump screens.
I'm for it. There were certainly no shortage of jump screams, jump scares in this one.
All right. So Ember Moon, Dakota Kai, with Raquel Gonzalez on her side. Pretty straightforward match. I think for me it was really cool to see Ember Moon back in a prominent position. back where she belongs in NXT, being used properly. And, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but it was just great seeing attention, proper attention, being put in a women's division. And for me, that was really cool. What did you think of the match?
I 100% agree. I really liked the match. I would have I think they could have done with a little more time, actually, which doesn't always happen in WWE, but I thought they were just kind of getting going. I'd like to see a little more of it. And then they ended. It was really good. There was one spot I'd like to highlight. They kind of did a play of the Undertaker, Brock Lesnar sit up and stare at each other, where Ember Moon kind of gives Dakota Kai a wink and says, "Come on, bring it on." And then when Dakota Kai swings the punch at her, Ember immediately traps her into submission. It was really, really awesome. Very satisfying spot. I thought this was a very good match. I'd like to see it again on a takeover, maybe. We can see it get longer and flesh out a little more, but I thought this was in the 3 to 3.5 jump scare range. I'm going to go 3.5 jump scares for this one as a 70% jump scare percentage.
All right. That's actually, you know what? I would agree. Overall, good mat wrestling, good timing, good pacing. Dakota Kai and Ember Moon looked fairly strong here. So, you know what? I'm pretty happy and it's all good. It was pretty simple. I think we summed it up.
And
pretty straightforward.
I do want to add, I'm liking this Dakota Kai push a lot. It's very good that she's getting some big wins because she's kind of in that position where she gets some wins, but she loses the big one. And I kind of thought that Ember Moon was going over here. So it was really nice to see a clean, no bullshit win. Well, I guess slight amount of bullshit win.
Yeah.
For Dakota Kai.
Yeah. Yep. So, long story short, Raquel Gonzalez gets in the assist. Moon hits the DDT. Moon lays on top of the turnbuckle. Kai gets the cover. 1, 2, 3. Bam. All right.
Good opener.
Yep. Good opener. Good pace. Dakota Kai is making her way back up the ramp with Raquel Gonzalez as she states to Ember Moon, "I just proved you wrong." So we jump backstage to Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes is being interviewed by Mackenzie Mitchell, and Grimes looks scared to death after saying he's still seeing zombies a week later. Grimes then states he's over it. We head to commercial break. All right.
NXT loaded a little gun here because he ran away from the referee who had turned into a zombie in the haunted house match. So
Yes.
Keep that in mind, wrestling fans.
Yep, that does come into play later, which is kind of cool. One thing that I'm really enjoying about NXT right now, and maybe because I'm paying more attention because I have to, and this is something that I personally like about wrestling shows in general, and that's that we see a common story throughout the night. It kind of draws you into the entire show. It's not like planning segment by segment. It's like there's an actual plan throughout the entire show. God, that's awesome.
You couldn't see it just now, but I was nodding vigorously over Spike. I 100% agree with that, my friend Boris.
Yep. All right, we get back from commercial. Shotzi Blackheart. Now Mackenzie Mitchell is now with the host from Halloween Havoc, Shotzi Blackheart. Blackheart puts over her hand-picked opponent for tonight, Toni Storm. I was super looking forward to this match. It's kind of cool because they're really trying to put over Toni Storm. Winner of the Mae Young Classic. She's back in NXT. I want a piece of her. So something to look forward to later. All right.
I think this is a pretty clever way to get into a babyface versus babyface match too, because you can always just book two popular wrestlers against each other. But anytime there's any kind of storyline explanation for it, it obviously will add to the match. So this was pretty clever. I like it.
Exactly. Agreed. All right. We jump to Kushida versus Cameron Grimes. Another match I was really looking forward to. So Cameron Grimes is waiting in the ring for tonight's matchup. Kushida's music hits. Kushida makes his way down to the ring. Referee signals for the bell. We're off. I really liking Kushida right now. It's about time that we see Kushida in again, similar to Ember Moon, I'm happy that NXT is finally using Kushida properly. He's been around for about a year. I know he was injured for a little while, but it's about time that that they showcase him a little more. This quote unquote new attitude that Kushida has, a little more aggressive, a little more hard. It also suits him really well. Really enjoying the mat wrestling from this match. Cameron Grimes, week over week, is turning into kind of my MVP, my most improved wrestler, the guy that I'm kind of looking forward to in the back of my head. Um, this was a really fun match. Um, what did you think?
I did like this match. I felt it was kind of like, I don't know. I'm gonna insult it by calling it average, but it was an average WWE match just in the beats. Okay, so it goes X amount of time, not very long, goes through a commercial break. You get a little bit of shine and a couple big moves from both guys, and then you get a weird bullshit finish. That seems like a lot of WWE matches lately. Now, I do think it was slightly above average just because the people involved are so fucking good. Like Cameron Grimes and Kushida, they could sleepwalk their way to a good match.
Yeah.
So this was a fun match to watch. The ending was pretty cheesy. It was unique, but it was also bullshit of the highest regard. So I don't know. I didn't love this match. I actually kind of liked it less than the opener, though I would personally still give it in that 3-star above average range. Let's go 3 jump scares, 60% jump scare percentage for this one, personally.
All right. And that's the thing. The ending a little off. So essentially, the referee is knocked out. A new referee comes out, and it's the same referee who was a zombie during the Haunted House of Terrors match last week. The same referee who Grimes ran away from earlier in the night. Referee runs down, but Grimes is scared. He runs around the ring, running from the ref. Kushida catches Grimes in a hoverboard lock, and Grimes taps out. Yeah, it to me, it kind of did hurt the match. Like, I think the match was originally at a 3.5 jump scares, then moved down to a 3, so I will agree with you on that again. One thing about WWE is that they're so afraid to absolutely cleanly put certain people over in a match.
Yes. It's very frustrating, and it's just like, so they did 2 visual pinfalls in this match as well. Kushida had a period where he had Grimes pinned or submitted. I forget. I think it was a pin, and then like seconds later, Grimes did the same thing to Kushida. So they both got the visual pin, and then Kushida got the win with like referee hijinks. It's just
Yep.
kind of like if you're gonna book a match and you don't want either guy to lose, then just put them against different people. Like I don't know. It just seemed like they did so much. They twisted themselves into a pretzel here to not make either guy look weak, and it kind of just made it into nothing as a result. But it was still fun to watch. It's still Cameron Grimes versus Kushida. It's
Yeah.
not ever going to be bad.
Yeah, but still, like the whole point of wrestling is to put people over. If you're afraid to properly put people over, then what's the point? It's frustrating because as a fan, here we were praising them last week with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. They did a great job of putting both performers over with a clean finish. Even after the match, Raquel Gonzalez looked maybe even stronger than Rhea Ripley with the loss. So we know it's possible, but it's like they're afraid to execute this time over time.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and it is very frustrating to watch. But again, you can't say this match was bad. It would be unfair for me to say that.
I agree. It was not bad. It was a great match up until the last couple minutes, and I saw it coming. Unfortunately, when they did the whole jump scare earlier with the referee, I knew something was gonna happen. But yeah, I was thinking Dexter Loomis was gonna show up, but it was just whatever. It was what it was.
It definitely looks like that feud isn't over, and I do think that Cameron Grimes needs a win over him in a clean match. And of all people in wrestling to get a good match out of Dexter Loomis, it might be Cameron Grimes. He might be the one to do it.
Yep. All right. Then we jump to a video package of Toni Storm, and she's talking about her return to NXT and the upcoming match with Shotzi Black. And then we go to commercial. When we're back from commercial, we see a video clip of Io Shirai winning the belt last week. Shirai calls out Rhea Ripley, saying that after all they've been through, she wants to face her one-on-one. So the gauntlet has been set. Challenge is out there. Io Shirai calls out Rhea Ripley.
That's
Oh,
awesome. That's the biggest match that NXT can do in their women's division. Very very excited for that. I think these little like minute 90-second personality profile videos are very effective.
they
They
really are.
always work. They always make me want to see the match or the wrestler that they're advertising. They never ever fail.
One thing we have to remember at NXT is that it is developmental. The assumption is that not everyone who's watching the show knows these people. Not everyone who watches these people, these wrestlers, these performers, have seen them in the indies or in previous organizations. So for me, it's a great way of kind of not only showcasing how good they are, not only showcasing their promo skills, but kind of introducing them overall to us.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a good thing to keep in mind. You, especially with this brand, but even like with any wrestling show, I think in this time, people are gonna like not. There's so much wrestling out there that people are gonna have blind spots. Everyone, even the most hardcore fans, don't watch everything. You can't. It's impossible.
Exactly. All right, we head back. Match number 3, an unannounced match this time. So we're in the arena, and Killian Dane and Drake Maverick make their way down to the ramp as their upbeat music is playing in the arena. You know what?
FIFA 14 theme.
Yeah, man, this team, and I know this is like a cliche, this is an overdone thing. Two people kind of never liked each other. The unwilling tag team partners will turn into BFFs. It's been done. We've seen it. But I'm really enjoying this. Like, we're seeing a whole other side of Killian Dane that, for once he actually has personality. For once he looks like he's having fun. For once I actually really care about what he's doing.
100%. And like I said this last week too, he's always brought it in the ring. I thought he's always been a tremendous wrestler, very underrated in the ring. Doesn't really have bad matches, but he didn't ever have much of a character or personality. And Drake Maverick is pure character and personality. So I love this gimmick. You're right. It does happen too much, but when they do it right, it works.
Yep.
So, I don't mind. I love the FIFA 14 theme too. I love the theme song. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the song itself and find it annoying, the great part about it is you immediately know exactly what this act is about within 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds, you see Dane just hating it, and you see Drake just dancing around him, and it's perfect. You immediately understand what's going on.
But isn't that what wrestling is supposed to be about? You see something and you quickly understand. Like, it doesn't need to be convoluted. It doesn't need to be crazy. It doesn't need to be intense. If you see something, it should make sense to you on TV.
Absolutely, you should click instantly so you can understand what's happening in front of you.
Yeah.
100%.
All right, Maverick, Dane coming down, or sure, dancing down. Everrise awaiting in the ring. Referee signals for the bell, and this match is underway. Quick match. Really, you know what? I gotta say, Dane and Maverick really clicking. Really good tag team moves. Parker from Everrise, he really impresses me. Everrise are two guys that I've seen in the indies quite a bit. So it's
Yeah,
kind of,
Canadian indie staples they are, I would say.
yeah, yeah. So it's cool to see them here on NXT, but it's still weird for me. Anyways, that's beside the point. This match didn't last too long because in the middle of the match, unfortunately, and we're going to talk about this because I'm not sure how I feel about this just yet. In the middle of the match, they do a picture-in-picture, and essentially we see a white SUV drive up, and it's none other than Pat McAfee, Only Lorcan, Danny Burch, and Pete Dunne.
The
And we
top
kind of,
knot himself.
yeah, and we kind of see them park, get out, walk into the NXT or the performance center, and your attention is completely taken away from the tag team match. At least it was this match and not one of the announced matches, but still, it sucks to take away the attention from the performers in the ring. So, as you can guess, as McAfee, Lorcan, Birch, and Dunn, walk in, they come into the arena, they come into the ring area, and they essentially clean up house.
Yeah. So I can understand the criticism there. I 100% get it, but I think it worked here, especially because one of the performers in the match at the end of this has a clear feud set up now
Yep.
and a clear path to get back at these guys. This wasn't just beating up on jobbers for the sake of it. There's a underlying story here, like as you were saying before.
Yep.
But yeah, the match itself, it was getting good. I do love me some Everrise, Canadian indie staples. Uh, Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, I'm ready for them to have their big match. Like they've been doing this storyline building smaller matches, which has to happen. You need to establish the personality of the team. But now it's time for them to get the big match. And I think it's probably coming, as we can get into, against the newly dubbed Kings of NXT.
Yep. Yep.
So the match itself, I'm gonna go like, let's say it was below average. Let's call it 2 stars. Not terrible, not unwatchable,
Whoa, whoa,
but I
whoa,
would
whoa,
say
whoa, whoa.
two,
Stars?
sorry, everybody. Oh, excuse me. 2 jump scares for a 40% jump scare percentage. But
Yep.
yeah, the real story here was the NWO style beatdown of these 4 clown shitheads, and then the Kings of Wrestling promo, Kings of NXT promo, which was awesome. Again, it went too long, but they're just letting Pat McAfee cook. They're just giving the man the mic and letting him cook and kind of make his mistakes. It's developmental, Boris. He's got to develop.
Yep. Here's the thing. It did go a little long, but he did not repeat himself this time. There was a coherent progression point to this overall promo, but he's just such an asshole piece of shit heel. It's amazing. And just seeing the reactions of Lorcan, Birch, and Dunn just kills me. I absolutely love them in the background. You take 3 awesome performers, put them with a great talker, and you get, and I'm going to say this right now, the best stable in NXT history.
Oof. Oof.
Hot take.
That's hot. It's too early for me to say that, but I do think they have that potential because they have it all. They have 3 great workers, a great personality, and I love the dichotomy of the background performers because the tag team is goofy, they're fired up, they're all energy, and then Pete Dunne is silent, unmoving killer who is just the meanest, toughest man now in NXT apparently.
Yep. My favorite thing here is the fact that they give Pete Dunne a reason for hating Undisputed Era. You know, they do a callback when Roderick Strong joined Undisputed Era. It was Pete Dunne who took the beating, so it's kind of like payback's a bitch, guys. Fuck you guys. I'm with them, but I'm gonna make sure your life is a living hell. So that was an awesome callback. It's very rare in WWE that you see, I'm not going to say long-term booking because no one planned this years ago. I bet you Pete Dunne was just kind of replaced and shoehorned into this group because of the injuries. But I just love the fact that they did the callback.
Absolutely. They have all this history. It's so good when they tap into it because they might as well. That's what makes it a TV show. That's what makes it satisfying to come back and watch and listen to podcasts like Talk NXT. But yeah, before we move on past this promo, I do want to say I think this was the first ever almost, it didn't actually happen, but the first ever jersey retirement in wrestling history. So the conceit of the promo was that Pat McAfee was going to retire the Undisputed Era banner because their time was done. But as he was about to raise it to the rafters, he decided to hold a vote within the Kings of NXT to see if they felt that Undisputed was actually worthy. And of course, they all voted no and then burnt the banner in a trash can.
Yep. I loved it. My favorite was McAfee constantly saying, "We're the greatest, you suck, cheers." I want
He's
that
trying to
shirt
get
right
that
now.
over. It seems like he's trying to get it over as a catchphrase, and I like it. I'm for it.
Yep.
It's a little lengthy, but you know what? He pulls it off.
Exactly. Yeah, so they burn the banner. They exit the building. They're still talking trash to everyone. And then Killian Dane reappears, gets his ass kicked, as one would expect, as it's 1-on-4. Pete Dunne gets Killian Dane down. Killian Dane is positioned perfectly. Pete Dunne closes the door on Killian Dane's head. And McAfee had the best reaction here. Like, it was such a, like, that was cool, but we need to work this out later. We need to talk about this aggression.
It was hilarious. I was actually having just gone through this promo again. I think this might win my promo of the night award over both shows. I thought AEW had some good contenders, but this promo was awesome. It achieved everything it needed to. It got over not only the four guys in this group, but also Killian Dane kind of has a direction now past the lackey of Drake Maverick, as he's gonna be gunning for revenge from these guys. It also made Pete Dunne into the craziest man in NXT instantly for kicking a car door into this man's face and destroying it. So I love this promo. I think this was like as good as a wrestling segment can be. It did so much. I think this was a 5 howl, 5 jump scare promo. It was pretty perfect. Well, you could say it was perfect. It wasn't perfect. 4.5, but it was great. It was the best promo you're going to see tonight across either show, and I definitely think you should check it out.
Yep. One thing I really liked about the Pete Dunne part is, it's the reaction when other heels say you've gone too far. Know you've gone too far.
That's a great point. That's so true. It's always good to see that.
Yeah. All right. So then we're in the Gargano's home. And this segment just made me laugh so hard. Johnny Gargano, I've always been a Johnny Gargano fan. I know a lot of people haven't. And I'm not going to say skeptical of him turning heel, but I was more interested and cautiously optimistic about, how his heel turn would be and how he would progress as a heel. And man, it has not disappointed me. So we see Johnny Gargano at home at the dinner table, in contrast from 2 weeks ago where he was scared shitless and hating wheels. This week, he loves the wheels and loves making history. The person in the Scream mask is sitting at the table with Gargano. They do a quick bit. Gargano tells that person that he will successfully defend his North American Championship next week against a worthy opponent.
I'm excited for it to be like El Luchador generic, but or whatever. I was gonna say El Generico, but he's actually an incredible wrestler.
Yeah.
But this was a great promo. So you said you were like cautiously optimistic maybe, and like you were just letting it play out with Johnny Gargano's heel turn. I was pretty sure that it was gonna suck. I hated the idea, and at first it did suck. I feel like, but he has completely figured it out. Johnny Gargano's a great heel now. And you just have to be not paying attention to the show to think otherwise. This was a hilarious promo, and it seems that they're milking the reveal of the person in the Scream costume.
Yep, as the next segment will show us. One thing I'm really liking about NXT at this point, and one of my notes here is kind of like, everyone is in a meaningful program right now. Everything we've seen has built and is building towards something. What that something is? Cool that I don't know, cool that I can't guess it, but it's something, and that's something that we're missing in other shows. It's something that I'm so glad that we're getting here in NXT versus other places. So it just reminds me of the glory days of wrestling for me, of where every segment actually meant something.
Yeah, and even the Val Venuses had a great program that you looked forward to. That's a really good point, man. That's something I hadn't considered, but I 100% agree. Everybody on this show has a clear direction, except maybe Everrise, but their direction is lose to the good wrestlers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Everrise is destined to lose this program, but we'll have the next program to look forward to. But even Everrise, a new team, who's made sporadic appearances. Yeah, but this is the point. Even they are in a meaningful program right now. Even they matter to the show. How many times do you watch Raw and or SmackDown? Probably never, but this is a theoretical question. How many times do you watch Raw and or SmackDown? And they're just throwaway segments, With so many wrestlers on the roster, how can you have throwaway segments?
It's crazy. And so much time to fill. I guess that's why they have it, but they can do so much with it if they weren't just looking to fill the time.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they are.
Exactly. All right. Tony Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi runs at the ring and shoves Toni Storm immediately. She seems to be having an issue with Toni Storm for some reason, so I was a little confused at the start, but this is where watching the show at home makes a lot of sense, and this is where, you know what, I gotta give a lot of kudos to the NXT commentary team. They are killing it. They're not the best per se, but they do such a good job of progressing storylines, which is again something you can't say about every show. So we hear from the commentary team that Shotzi was blaming Toni Storm for her tank going missing. So there you go. Mystery
Yeah.
solved. Why was Shotzi? Half an hour ago she was praising Toni Storm. Now she's angry. Now we know why. Her tank is missing. And I love the fact that they even put over the fact that she uses a tank because she has a family member in the military who watches every week. So it's like, they added that extra emotional part to it for a good reason. Matt, do you want to talk this match through?
Sure, yeah. I do want to, shout out to the announcers, and specifically what you just said about pointing out why she drives this silly little tank to the ring in the first place, because it kind of just seemed like a silly gimmick to me anyway. I haven't seen much of Shotzi. Maybe they've referenced this on the show before. If they have, I apologize. But this is the first I've heard about it, and it was like, oh, okay, so this is a real thing, and it's an actual it's a real thing in her character that she loves and means something to her. So beautiful. So this was a good match. It was a little it seemed like Shotzi knew this was the biggest match of her career, and she was just on 150. She was flying through this match at 11. It was crazy. She did one spot where she tripped on the top rope. Like, these things happen, not like, well, you fucked up or anything, but it was just very visible how amped up and excited Shotzi was for this match. It almost like she was going too fast.
Yeah. And again, the commentary did a great thing of putting over the fact that, yeah, she fucked up, but she's super excited. She's amped, so shit happens. And again, kudos to the commentary team there. But again, yeah, Shotzi did make a couple mistakes. Both before the commercial and after the commercial. She did calm down a lot after the commercial, but there were a couple cues. But overall, this is where Toni Storm really excels. Just made it seem so natural. Didn't freak out. Even that one spot where Toni Storm did the bridge. And Shotzi's shoulders weren't down on the mat, and Shotzi had to reposition herself. It just,
Yeah.
they did it so seamlessly. You can't blame performers for screwing up. Us in the internet wrestling community love shitting on anyone who fucks up a little bit, but you know what? They did a great job of moving the match forward, and,
Absolutely.
and, and, and I really enjoyed that. But this match, again, second women's match of the night, third women's segment, and I think that, this for me was such a good match. It showed Toni Storm, it showed Shotzi Blackheart, even though she did screw up a little, but it was a really good match, and they gave them enough time to kind of put each other over.
Absolutely. I thought it was really good, and it's abundantly clear why they like Toni Storm. They need to push this girl to the moon. As much as, like, Rhea Ripley is a huge star in waiting, I think Toni Storm has limitless potential. Limitless. She's so young, she's beautiful, she's an incredible wrestler. She's the sky is the limit for her.
Yep.
There's nothing that she lacks. Nothing.
Yeah, she's not your average woman, female performer. She's got that extra it factor, that charisma. Seeing her live also, I saw her live last year during SummerSlam weekend for Smash, and it just when she walks down, when she's in the ring, it's like everyone just puts all attention on her, and she just knows how to do it. Like, she just knows how to, like, even just brush her hair back, the faces she makes, the way she poses. She just knows what she's doing, and that just
She's a
you can't
pro.
teach that.
Nope, she's a pro. She's a star. She's ready to go. She should be on Raw. I'm glad she's not, because she'll be much better here. But yeah, she's a talent. So yeah, if you want to just quickly get into the ending of this match,
Yep.
uh, Candice LeRae shows up on the big screen. I thought Candice did an amazing job with her promo here. I was shocked at how good she was. Not like that seems mean, but I was just like, wow, like Candice, go get it, girl. She was killing it. But she basically, long story short, she has a big old jacked up, what was it, like a Hummer, like some kind of big vehicle of sorts, and she runs over the tank that
Well,
Shotzi Blackheart holds so dear, and it took her like a good minute of driving over this tank for the thing to actually destroy, which was pretty funny, for it to actually break. But yeah, so Candice LeRae breaks the tank that's so important to Shotzi Blackheart because Shotzi cost her the world women's title last week.
yep, exactly. So, you get the continuation of LeRae Blackheart. You get Toni Storm in an awesome position because she did get the win because, as Candice LeRae first showed up on the screen, kind of distracted Blackheart. She got the 1, 2, 3 and a quick roll up.
I did appreciate that Tony, rather than doing the classic schoolboy, actually threw in the old, I think it's like the Japanese rolling clutch
Yep,
pin, just because she's good and she can do it.
yep.
Anyway.
And I like, as Blackheart is heartbroken, screaming, crying, overly dramatic. Toni Storm is kind of in the background, coming closer to her, saying like, they're there. It's just that little added touch is like, hey, I'm a face too. I'm not with LeRae. That's something else. So
Yeah.
it's those little touches that I love about wrestling and those details that really, I made me appreciate this entire segment even more.
100% agree. Really liked it. As for rating, I think that I was going maybe 3, but I think you probably talked me into 3.5. I don't think these are like A level matches. I would say like a 4 jump scare match would be like an A. That's 80%. That's
Yeah.
the Canadian grading system. But yeah, so this is in the 70 to 75%. Let's go 75. Wait, no, let's go 73.5 jump scare match.
Yep, I agree with that. All right. We see a video, one of those earlier today videos of Legado del Fantasma showing up at the arena. Jake Atlas pulls up and hits Raul Mendoza with a bat, threatens to hit Joaquin Wild with the bat as well before getting back in his car and driving away. Pretty fast. But again, couple minutes, reminder, hey, there's this storyline still going on. And it's just, again, the progression of the show was fast and great and smooth. And everyone on the show has a meaningful place, even the next segment, which I kind of want to put a little focus on, talk a little about it. And that's Thatch as Thatch
Oh,
Can.
yes,
So
sir.
we get a live session of Thatch as Thatch Can Wrestling. Thatcher says that tonight's lesson is on reversals. For those who don't remember, 2 weeks ago he did this, and it kind of backfired him in the end. He shows how a guillotine, this week, he shows how a guillotine choke works, and then shows how to reverse out of the hold. He keeps punishing his student with a top wrist lock. His student seems very upset, but says that he's good. He tries to get his student to do the escape. He lures the student into an ankle lock. Student fiercely taps. Thatcher talks about how you have to be prepared. Always be prepared. Then Austin Gray, same student from 2 weeks ago, comes out and attacks Thatcher, hits Thatcher with a kick, sending him over the barricade into the audience, and he runs off. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this segment a little bit is because, back in the day when I was a wee lad, I remember watching Superstars, and you would always see Superstar versus Jobber. We still see this from time to time, but this is probably the most creative way to use a jobber. I know we've seen things like this in the past, but seeing this and like for a guy like Timothy Thatcher, he's a much better promo than I thought. He knows how to talk, he knows what he's doing, and he's excelling at what he's the best at, which is wrestling. So this is such a genius and ingenious way of using a jobber, and at the same time, filling in a segment, putting in over your superstar, and now we have this Austin Gray guy out of nowhere, kind of making a name for himself with that, that match that's bound to happen. What were your thoughts?
I love these promos. Not only does it give a reason for the jobber versus wrestler match, but it just puts over wrestling. It just helps you understand what you're watching, and it makes whether like it's not like, oh, the next match every headlock is so important, but it is like a slight. It just helps wrestling seem like real. Like it's not obviously like in kayfabe, but just like I don't know. These are perfect for the show in this era of wrestling where there's not a lot of attention paid to rules and the actual art, quote unquote, of the sport of it. This stands out so much. These are very welcome. I'm excited to see Thatcher versus Stu. What's his name? Anthony Green, Austin Gray,
Austin Gray.
Austin Green,
Austin Gray.
Austin Gray. So I'm excited to see this Austin Gray Thatcher match. He really impressed me 2 weeks ago in the Thatch Can segment. This one wasn't as fleshed out as the one 2 weeks ago. This was pretty much just Thatcher bullying his new student to death, and then the old student coming in and showing him what for. But yeah, we're getting some development here with Thatcher, and I'm excited to see what this kid has next week.
Yeah. All right, we're backstage. Xia Li's backstage. She's asked about the letters she's been getting from Boa. She says that they're letters from her family and that they're personal, so back off, get your own sandwich. But then she says she needs to win. William Regal appears with a new letter, and Lee says that she needs to challenge Raquel Gonzalez next week. Regal says that he will take care of it. So
I love Regal in these because again, every authority figure you see in wrestling is usually a bombastic, over the top personality, and Regal is just English grandpa, and he's just, well, if that's what you wish, and it's perfect.
Yep. All right, we get back from commercial. Rhea Ripley cuts a quick promo saying that she is happy to accept Io's challenge, and she has been wanting to challenge Io for the title since June. All right, so this sets up next week. Next week, Matt, we're going to see Johnny Gargano versus somebody. He will defend his North American Championship. We're also going to see Breezango finally get the rematch for the NXT Tag Team Championships against Lorcan and Birch. And we will see Xia Li versus Raquel Gonzalez.
So, here's my prediction. Do we know what has happened to Andrade yet? Do we know if he's on a roster? Has he been seen on Raw or SmackDown since the draft? I think Andrade's winning the North American title next Wednesday.
You know what? Damn. That's a good prediction. That's a very good prediction.
Thank you. That's maybe more of a pick with my heart than my head, but I'm going with it.
Yep. You know what? I agree with this. Let's go with this. The reason why Johnny Gargano, in his earlier promo, made mention that, I will not lose my first defense. I'm going to, change history. I keep making history. I'm going to win this match. So why not have a nice little surprise,
That's what I'm thinking. And we haven't heard tell of Andrade since the draft. And I don't think he's fired because he's fabulous at wrestling. So,
well, and he's in the right family right now.
Yeah, also that. Okay, Boris, do we want to put off the Velveteen Dream conversation another week? Because I'm very much okay with that.
Yep, we're going to put it off again. But I got to say, we are entering the main event. The main event was Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream, who will now be known as Ciampa's opponent. I gotta say, I just can't with Dream anymore. I can't with Ciampa's opponent anymore. He just completely. No matter how good this match was, no matter how good this match put over Ciampa and whatnot, I just could not get into this.
No, I completely understand. A big part, and without going too far into it, but the allegations against Velveteen Dream, they're very hard to separate from the performer because he's working this Rick Rude, Val Venus sexual style. All of his mannerisms, all of his little gimmicks are so over the top, like ravishing Rick Rude that it's just hard to forget. So I 100% agree. Velveteen Dream, since these things have come out, is wrestling his ass off, though. He really is. I don't want to like him. I don't want to cheer for him. I don't even want to really talk too much about this match. Ciampa controlled 90% of it in one clean, and Dream bumped like a fucking Super Ball the entire time. It was really impressive. He was bumping his ass off. To me though, it almost seems like Triple H and NXT, they're trying to draw sympathy for him right now, and it bugs me. I don't want to
Yeah.
see it. I don't want to feel sympathy for this guy.
One thing about Dream is, he did play this over-sexualized character, Val Venus, Rick Rude, mind games type character. But if you've noticed lately, he's kind of been moving away from that. He, like Kushida, is now wearing jeans. Even though this tonight, I do want to bring up something about Ciampa's opponent, and that's he kind of looked like Virgil from NWO days,
Huh.
Vincent. He also had this shirt that said OVA, OVA, and I'm like, you shouldn't be wearing a shirt that has anything that says over, ending, anything like that. Like, just be smarter. So there was that. So, maybe they are trying to change his character overall. Give him a few losses, make him a little tougher, move him away from that over-sexualized Rick Rude, Val Venus-like character. So we'll see. Maybe I might be able to see him differently down the road, but right now it's still too much.
No.
Whether some stuff happened or not, it's hard, right? Like it's really hard to separate performer from real life, fake or not fake, and it is what it is there. But it just takes me
And
away from it.
quite frankly, yeah, sorry. Quite frankly, I love wrestling. I've watched it since I was a young boy. I'll watch it probably for the rest of my life, but it's not worth it. Like, not for wrestling. Like, I'm not separating the wrestler. You know what I mean? It's pro wrestling. These guys are pretending to fight for, like, our entertainment. Like, it's not, no, I don't mean to, I love wrestling. I think it's incredibly hard. But like, it's not high theater. Like, this is not, it's not worth that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's such a dumb, trivial thing to forgive potentially serious fucking accusations over.
Yeah.
Anyway, the match itself was really good. I wouldn't quite give it an A just because Ciampa controlled 95% of it. If it was more back and forth, I probably would. I would give it 3 3/4 jump scares for a 75% jump scare package.
Wow, that's higher than I thought. I'll go with it.
I
I'll
really,
go with it.
the match itself was great, man. It was. Dream takes a fucking hell of a bump, but fuck.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. One thing I do want to give kudos to Ciampa for is his ring gear, his shredder look.
Oh,
I kind of like that.
the Shao Kahn mask he busted out. That was
Yeah.
really cool. It looked like he wanted to get it off his face immediately. He almost took it off on the stairs. It doesn't look like he likes it that much, but I
Yeah.
think it's a great look for him. I think it works for him.
Yeah. So as Matt mentioned, Ciampa controlled most of the match. Ciampa pulls Dream out with a super kick. Dream throws a steel chair into the ring. Ciampa hits Widow's Bell Fairy Tale ending in the center of the ring for the 3 count and the win. Show then slowly goes out as the crowd is chanting NXT, and Ciampa stares straight into the camera. That's
Yep.
NXT.
Proper end, fine end. It was, they really put Tommaso Ciampa over strong, and I'm excited to see what Ciampa has next. Although I imagine it's either Balor or Karrion Kross, whoever comes back first. Probably Finn, right? Like,
I would assume so.
I'm not sure. Yeah, what's Kross's injury? It's like a popped ACL or something.
I think it's his shoulder,
Okay,
his rotator cuff or something like that.
right. So he's out for a long while.
Yeah. So overall, on the whole, what did you think of this show?
Good show. Like I said, it's these shows at the start of the mountain rather than at the peak of the mountain are not always, going to be like the strongest show in the upcoming 2 months. But I liked it. I thought it's like you said, everyone has a character, and the fact that everything matters and stories are progressing makes the 2 hours feel like a breeze. Like, it's a really quick, enjoyable, professional wrestling watch.
Yep, exactly. It's like I overall enjoyed it. I will give credit again to the fact that everyone on the show has something to do. Everything on the show meant something. everything on the show will progress to next week. And one thing that I really appreciate is that they're not trying to shoehorn everyone into the show. There are times that you're not
Yeah.
going to see, your Tony Storms on the show. One note that I did want to bring up is that this show, once again, to me, proves why the NXT women's division is far superior than the AEW women's division.
I do think the AEW women's division is growing and getting better. I think we'll talk maybe later about something specifically about that I actually like and want to defend. But you're 1,000% correct. I'd have to be a complete fanboy to not acquiesce that point. NXT's women's division is pretty great. It's significantly better. And Wade Barrett has been saying it's the most competitive and exciting division in all of wrestling, which I'm not sure is true, but it's a great thing to say. It's a great little tagline for it. And yeah, indisputably, NXT's women's division is killing it right now.
All right, it's that time of the show. Best match of the night. Matt, what would you think?
So I'm gonna go. I think Ciampa versus Dream had a shot at it, but it wasn't quite there. I think I'm gonna go for Young Bucks versus Private Party on AEW, and I feel like you might disagree with that because you're not a fan of that necessarily, that high flying arse style.
No, hold on. It's not that I'm not a fan of it. It's not that I'm not a fan of it. It's that it's for. I feel like if you've seen one Young Bucks match, you've seen them all.
That's not unfair. Actually, that's precisely why I liked this Young Bucks match so much, because there was some different in it. There was a little bit of variety in it. Matt Jackson was selling his ass off. It did genuinely look for a second there like Private Party was going to win, even though coming into the match, it should have never been in doubt for a second. I thought they did a really good job, and it was a pretty worthy match. I thought it should have closed the show. It did not. They closed the show with the Austin Gunn, Billy Gunn, Cody Rhodes win over the Dark Order, which was, to me, kind of a strange decision. I think they more than that match, they wanted to close the show with Cody's promo, which was really good. But yeah, so for me, match of the show, match of the night was the AEW tag team match between the Bucks and the Private Party squadron. But promo of the night, and I would have thought I would have given it to AEW.
Hold on. I'll give my match of the night first.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So my match of the night is Tony Storm and Shotzi Blackheart. Even though there were a few hiccups, if you can put a Bucks match and accept hiccups, then we can put Shotzi Blackheart in my match of the night.
100% valid. There's going to be some hiccups in a Young Bucks Private Party match for
and
sure.
Again, it sounds like I don't like. It sounds like I don't like them. It sounds like I don't like that style. But it's just it for at this point it is what it is. I enjoy it for what it is. I do get an entertainment out of it. I do think that the Bucks maybe are arguably the best tag team in the world, overall. But, it's just, it is what it is.
No. That makes sense.
I think our listeners and you will learn kind of, and we'll have these discussions over time. So
For sure.
All right, so that's match of the night. Promo of the night. Matt.
All right, so coming into this, I was fixing to give it to Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, but that wasn't. I don't know. Eddie Kingston was a little excited in that promo. He talked over John a little too much. I thought that it was a fantastic promo. They'll never cut a bad one. But having gone through the show, I think I'm switching my promo of the night to Pat McAfee. I think it was great. It achieved everything it needed to. It was the first jersey retirement I've ever seen in wrestling. And now I'm so excited to see more from the Kings of NXT. So I'm giving promo of the night to Pat McAfee and the Kings.
Nice. All right. We're in agreement. I also give it to Pat McAfee and the Kings of NXT. You know what? With honorable mention for me to Johnny Gargano. I never thought I would say that Johnny Gargano could have the promo of the night. Like, that to me sounds like such a foreign thing, a crazy thing to say, but here we are. 2020, year of crazy stuff. But yeah, no, Pat McAfee and the Kings of NXT, promo of the night. Again, 2 weeks back-to-back from me.
Yeah, same. Well, not actually. I gave it last week
You give it to
to the Moxley Kingston feud. But yeah, Pat McAfee has been the best promo on NXT for 2 weeks running, at least. At least.
at least. At least. All right. So earlier we kind of talked about a new segment. It's overall, what made you pop? What made you rant? So, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Matt, what made you pop this week?
Cool. So, what made me pop this week? We're finally getting the dream match, baby. FTR versus Young Bucks. I've been excited for this match since what? 2014, 2015. Yep. I cannot wait to see what they come up with. The two clash of styles, but we've always seen FTR have fantastic matches with smaller, flighty baby faces, and this is the one. This is the one I've been waiting for. I'm a tag team wrestling mark, and I cannot wait for this one.
All right. What made me pop? Well, the entire build-up to Moxley Kingston. These are two guys who I just cannot wait to watch do their thing. Their promos have been just excellent. Top tier performers, top tier promos. Here we are, super clash. And unfortunately, AEW has this thing where I feel like someone new comes in, it's a nice and new shiny toy, gets that title shot, loses, and then moves to the mid card. But we'll see what happens. I want to say that Moxie's going to win, but there's a big part of me that thinks that Kingston could take it on Saturday. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, what made me pop is the entire build-up, especially last night's promo to the Moxley Kingston match this weekend. Now, what made you rant, Matt?
What made me rant? The build to FTR versus Young Bucks.
I love it.
Okay, so I have called myself the AEW fanboy on this podcast, and we've been a little negative to the Young Bucks. So let me just say that I do like the Young Bucks. I think they're incredible wrestlers. I've paid my own money to see them live numerous times. I'd like to do so again if the world ever restarts. This build has been objectively terrible. A fucking tire fire. This is closer to Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon in 2010 than it is a worthy build to a dream match. They have actively ruined this. The fucking turning the Bucks heel by like super kicking announcers, first of all, is completely derivative. It's just Shawn Michaels kicking Stan over and over and over. So like the fact that they built their entire character around it is pretty lame. Like we saw it once, it was cute, and then we didn't need to see it again. Secondly, the fact that they went heel at all and the Young Bucks were and FTR were kind of flirting babyface just ruined it. Like, why would you bother doing that? The Young Bucks were the incubate owners of the company, and the FTR were like the invading heels. It was just such an easy, simple story to tell, and they could have just done 6-man tags, done the 8-mans, keep teasing the way they were. They didn't have to include all this storyline stuff. I think every segment they've done has hurt this match, and I want to see it less now, which sucks.
I have a question for you about this.
Yes.
Do you think that it's too soon to have this match?
I think, I could have done with them putting it off more, but I think what they've been doing to put it off has sucked so bad that no, just do it immediately, please. Just get it done. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like in a vacuum, yes, but through what's happening, no. Get it on TV.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm cool with that. One thing that got me a little bit about this entire build-up was the whole, Bucks going heel, but yet now they throw in the whole condition that if they lose, they're not going to challenge for the tag team belts again. That's such a face thing to do. I don't get why, what this adds to anything,
Well, yeah, no, it's almost as if they just want to do this every year on Full Gear because they did it last year with Cody, but it kind of devalues it. It kind of just makes it fake and dumb. The only way that I see this actually working is that FTR wins. You know what I mean? If the Young Bucks just win this match, it was just made obvious that they're going to do it. I think FTR has to win, and then the Bucks maybe put up their career. Maybe they just do the same thing Cody's doing, and there's the TNT tag titles. I don't know. But I agree with that, though. I think the Young Bucks, in their sit-down promo, the last one, they officially, established that they were faces. I don't want to say turned face again, but established that they were faces that were acting heelish and not heels. But it's just confusing and dumb. Like, why not just, I don't know. I think this build has actively taken away from one of the few dream matches in wrestling, and it really sucks. But
Exactly. One of the things, like, for me was, you know, this match would be a lot more effective with the crowd. So maybe they're gonna redo it once there's crowds again.
yeah,
But they
true.
wanted to, but they need to sell these pay-per-views. People
Yeah.
are gonna pay for these pay-per-views, so they need to put something on the show. So having a dream match like this, but at the same time, I don't think they put the effort that they could have into the build-up.
Mm.
So I'm interested to kind of see what they do in the future. So we'll see what happens with that. Um, it's just, yeah, it's unfortunate, right?
I just think it's unfortunate. I just think they're just ruining it. They're just, yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's obviously very hard to sign a team in the summer and then stretch the big match out till November. But I don't know. They didn't do a good job. That's all I can say. They did not do a good job. But what made you rant this week, Boris?
Well, it's something that happened just last night. It's something that I know that you're going to defend, but we're going to get into this, and that is Serena Deeb, Allison Kay for the NWA Women's World Championship at AEW's Full Gear buy-in. I don't get why they have two amazing performers competing against each other for someone else's belt. I understand the whole, Tony Khan wants to live in this world and AEW wants to live in this world where, we're not the only guys in town. There's other promotions, but they pick and choose when they want to acknowledge the promotions. I understand that they may have a working relationship, but the fact that this NWA women's title, which has the storied and, history, and it goes back years, at the end of the day, that match, that bit, for me, it just seems like a better sell than their own
Yeah.
women's belt and matchup.
I completely understand that criticism for sure. So I actually thought that you were going to be mad that this was on the pre-show, and that's what I was going to defend. But I can't really argue anything that you just said. That's all really great points. I do want to just add my slight defense of this being on the pre-show. The pre-show in AEW is not a demotion. In WWE, it's seen as being like the shittiest match. But in AEW, what they're trying to do is make the pre-show important. They're trying to put a good match on the pre-show because they know that more people are seeing the pre-show than they are the pay-per-view. That's just math. It's just a fact. So it's actually not this is Tony Khan's company line anyway. And I mean, I tend to believe it. It's not necessarily like he's putting the shittiest match on. It's just the match that he wants to show, that he wants to use to sell the pay-per-view. And I think it's actually like a good, it shows faith in Allison Kay and Serena Deeb, but that kind of proves your point. Why is he pushing the NWA women's title more than his?
Yep. And, the simple answer could be the history.
Yeah.
Then say it. But for me, the biggest criticism of AEW has been the women's division. And here you are putting, two people with a belt in a, I'm going to say, more prominent role position, even though it's in the buy-in, than your own company's belt. It just,
Nah,
to me, it
buy it,
doesn't make
not
sense.
pre-show.
You know?
I agree with that, man. I 100% see it that way. Yeah, more people will see that match than the Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose match. So yeah, I think so. And I think it's gotten more love. Maybe not more TV time, but it is treated as maybe more prestigious, prestigious
Yeah.
as you said.
Yeah, like, it, I don't. It just. I'm trying to see the positive. I don't want to sound like a negative anti AEW guy. I'm far from it. I'm far from it. But I'm not. The honeymoon's over. I'm gonna
Yeah.
criticize AEW the same way I criticize WWE at this point. So
Well, of course.
I think that that's something that I want to also talk about a little bit right now, and it's that fact that AEW is fantastic. It's not perfect, and I think a lot of people kind of give them a pass because they're the new guys in town. They've been around for a year. It hasn't been the easiest year, losing crowds, and losing some of your roster because of travel and whatnot. But you know, I'm gonna criticize them. I'm gonna watch them with the same glasses as I watch WWE, and sometimes I might sound a little more critical, but that's where we're at.
No, hey man, that's completely fair, and I'm glad you're doing it. I try to, keep that attitude as well. Although I do love a lot of what AEW does, but I did just tear the Young Bucks a new one. So hey, do you want to do quick predictions for the pay per view on Saturday before we move on?
Of course, of
Awesome.
course. All right,
Okay, so
we're
yeah,
gonna start from. So obviously, we can only give predictions on what we know, which I think we know most of.
yeah, I think right now we're at 9 matches. I'm gonna start I've already started like a little Google Docs. So anyone who wants to follow along with our picks, we can you can check out the standings and stuff, and just so you can see where we're at too, Boris. But yeah, so I guess we can start with the buy-in. Allison Kay versus Serena Deeb. Who you got?
All right, so I can go first. I'm gonna say Serena Deeb.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to 100% agree on that one. I think they're setting up, and I also wanted to add, maybe they're pushing the NWA Women's Title so hard because they're building to a unification, and you need to make the other belt seem like something. You know what I mean? But I
Yep.
don't know. I don't know if that even makes sense. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know. But
All
anyway,
right.
I do 100% agree that Serena Deeb is winning on
Okay.
Saturday.
The one thing I thought of is, what if Serena Deeb drops it because she is signed to AEW? But then I remembered Allison Kay is a free agent, or she claims she was. So,
Mm.
this might be a clever way of getting the belt off of Serena Deeb on a big platform that promotes NWA. And people will
True.
watch, whatever NWA shows are on. I forget what that show is called on Tuesday nights that they have
Yeah,
right now.
same. It's not
Not
Power
Power. It's
anymore.
like the one that they're doing right
Yeah.
now live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prime time or
Okay.
something like that. Anyways,
So
go ahead, Matt.
yeah. Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, so match number 2 on the show. I'm not sure. It's unclear if this was moved off the buy-in or if it will still be on the buy-in. I think it's off the buy-in now, and it's actually on the pay-per-view proper. Orange Cassidy versus John Silver.
This one was moved from the buy-in. So this was
Yeah.
what happened yesterday. They moved this match from the buy-in to the main card, and then Tony Khan says, "But I'm working on something big for everyone, more to announce later." And then they announced that women's match.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I went first last time. Do you want to go first this time?
Sure, yeah. I'm going with Orange Cassidy here. He needs wins. He's going to get this win. John Silver, as great as he is, does not need wins. So I think this will be a safe and clear win for Orange. And I'm ready for him to move on from the Dark Order, although I don't think that's going to happen for a long time.
I agree. Yeah, Orange Cassidy needs this win. The thing about AEW is that their booking is smart. They book long term. They do care about win losses, but they also remember that having someone lose multiple big time matches, you don't want them to get the Bray Wyatt syndrome, and
Yeah.
then fans are just not going to take that person serious. They're already walking a very thin line with Orange Cassidy, so he really needs a couple big wins. This might not be the biggest win, but it's a win on a pay-per-view. So it's going to weigh more than a win on Dynamite or Dark. So I agree.
Absolutely.
Orange Cassidy.
Right on. So moving on, Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in the Elite Deletion match.
All right. I don't want to see these guys fight anymore. I think that every time these guys have even looked at each other, someone gets injured. But I'm going to go with Sammy.
Yeah. I think yeah, this is a big win for Sammy. I don't know why they feel the need to keep going with this, but maybe they just didn't feel satisfied with the blow off match and want another opportunity. They're doing this is definitely going to be a cinematic match, as they say. I
Yep.
think it'll be pretty entertaining. Uh I just think if Matt Hardy wins, the story has to continue because Hardy's like the old man and Sammy should win the feud in the end because he's the young babyface, right? So I think Sammy gets the final win. So part of me is worried Matt Hardy wins because it's the Elite Deletion and all that, but I think it puts Sammy over strong if he beats Hardy in his own crazy scenario. So I'm going Sammy as well. Sammy Guevara to win the Elite Deletion.
All right.
Moving on, the AEW Women's Championship. Hikaru Shida champion versus Nyla Rose. Personally, go with Nyla this time. I think she's going to win this. I think they're pushing her strong. And Sheeta's really good, but she's almost at the point where she doesn't need the title. I think getting the title on Nyla, who can then elevate the next woman who beats her, would be good. And Sheeta can stay very, very strong in the division. I think she's very popular already. I think she's kind of made. So I think you put the title back on Nyla here. That's my pick.
I'm going with Hikaru Shida. The reason why is because I think that Miss Britt Baker will eventually be the one who takes it off Shida. So I'm going Shida on this one.
That makes a lot of sense. Might have just shot myself in the foot there, Boris, but I you know, you can't just pick the same thing in every
Exactly.
match, so, yeah. All right, so Chris Jericho versus MJF. If MJF wins, he can join the Inner Circle. I'm going MJF here. I think it's going to be a good match, and just for storyline purposes, I think MJF wins. But it's possible that they do something else and swerve us a little bit. But I think the logical step here is that Maxwell Jacob Friedman defeats Chris Jericho.
I want to put this on the record. I do agree with you. I think that storyline-wise, it makes sense for MJF to win. But for the sake of friendly competition, I'm going Jericho.
Fair enough. Oh, absolutely. Right on. Okay. Speaking of friendly competition, Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. Who do you like here, Boris?
All right. Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. I understand that pick. I'm going to go Darby. I just don't think Darby can afford the loss. I think they've been pushing him enough that it makes sense that he could be a champion in this company. He probably won't have a long title run because he's not suited for that. But I think this is a big, important win for Darby. And if I were booking, he'd get the W here. So we're going to go Darby Allin over Cody Rhodes for the TNT Championship. Next up,
Rhodes.
FTR versus the Young Bucks. If the Young Bucks lose, they can never challenge for the AEW tag titles again. I already alluded to this, but I'm taking FTR in this one. I think that makes the most sense for the storyline. And if the Young Bucks just win this match, it makes the build even more pointless and stupid. So I'm going FTR. What do you think?
Oh, this is actually a tough one. I'm going to have to go with the Young Bucks.
Oh, nice. Makes a lot of sense. You can't argue that, really. Second last match on the card, the final of the number one contenders tournament, Hangman Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. Boris, what do you think?
I think Kenny's got this. We're at a point. This is something about Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, biggest wrestler in the world for a few years. Hottest thing in wrestling, arguably, when AEW started. And he's kind of played a mid-card role. I understand that, being the VP, you don't want to put nepotism and book yourself to win everything, Cody. But I feel that we're at a point now where Kenny Omega needs to be the star that AEW needs him to be. So I'm going to go Kenny Omega.
Well put. He needs to be the star that AEW needs. He needs to be the hero they need but don't deserve. And yes, I think, well, they do deserve him.
They do.
I think Kenny Omega wins this tournament and eventually beats Jon Moxley for the world title, who I predict will defeat Eddie Kingston in the I Quit main event of this Saturday's AEW Full Gear show. What do you think, Boris?
I agree with you for the simple fact that I can see Omega Moxley being the next program.
100 million% agree. And that's going to do it for our picks. Again, I'll throw a link up there for everyone to just check them out as we go through these. Probably just going to pick pay-per-views when they come up.
Yep.
And NXT takeovers. But yeah.
Man,
have you got anything else to add this week, good pal?
I think we're at a point where we can call it a show. I think we're at a point where I've been wrestling out for the week. Yeah,
I'm ready. Speaking of being sick of things, let's go dive into that U.S. election coverage and have everyone out there, stay safe. Have yourself a great week ahead. And I don't even know what to possibly say right now.
Exactly.
Pro wrestling's good, at least.
Exactly. Pro wrestling is
well
good.
On Wednesdays.
Wednesday is the best night. We will talk next week about all things NXT. We'll go through our picks. We'll do our what made you pop, what made you rant, and we'll just chat some wrestling in general. So thank you everyone for listening. Goodbye.